Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 11 starts now.
A 12-year-old boy is saved after falling through the ice. Tonight we're talking to the Good Samaritans who jumped into action.
But we're going to begin with the weather. A live look at our sky cam from Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
See, just a few dots of light in there. The Fort Warren weather team tracking a dense fog advisory now for southeast Michigan. We just trade one advisory for another. The fog could make travel tonight and in the morning pretty difficult. Glad you're with us tonight at 11. I'm Devin Skillian.
Kimberly Gill, let's get right over to Fort Warren meteorologist Kim Adams with a look at the latest forecast. We go from one problem to another, Kim.
One problem after the other. This one, fog is very difficult because it kind of sits in certain areas, but at this point it's pretty widespread across much of southeast lower Michigan with a 1/10 of a mile visibility in Pontiac, Mount Clemens near zero at the airport, 3/4 of a mile in the city of Detroit. So definitely it is an issue tonight, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Now, the warm air that changed that freezing rain and sleet over to rain this afternoon is the same warm air that's causing this fog. What happens is we have a cold surface, that snowy surface. We've got warm, moist air that moves over top of that surface, and as it cools to saturation, we get this dense fog. So we're going to have it around for a while. There is a dense fog advisory in effect for all of southeast lower Michigan until 11 a.m. tomorrow, which takes us all the way through that morning commute. One piece of good news is that oftentimes when you get this advection fog, this winter fog, it can freeze on contact. We don't have that issue because our temperatures are above freezing right now, but we still have some icy secondary roadways. So you combine that with reduced visibility and it will be tricky traveling into work tomorrow. So one more day where you're not going to be able to hit that snooze button. We'll talk more about what's ahead for the rest of the day tomorrow and a sneak peek at the weekend forecast coming up.
All right, Kim, a 12-year-old boy is okay after crews spent time working to save him after he fell into a frozen pond.
Happened around 8:45 this morning on East Cabela Drive in Dundee. First responders got there just within 3 minutes, but as our Victor Williams explains, there were even more complications with the rescue. However, 2 teens were there to help.
Well, there's no telling what this 12-year-old was doing while walking on what he thought was a very solid frozen pond. That's until he fell in, but thankfully, several people were in the right place at the right time.
The subject had fallen through the ice in the pond, screaming for help.
Central 830's en route to that.
A 12-year-old falling into a frozen pond turns into a dramatic rescue in Dundee.
I kind of looked out the corner of my eye and I seen a kid. He was just kind of stressed in the water, and then I seen 2 cops.
14-year-old Paxton Barnes and 19-year-old Garrett Desborough were there when they noticed 2 officers stepping in to help.
Me and my friend jumped out of the truck and we just took off running.
But then the unthinkable happens when the rescuing officer falls in himself. From there, it's a race against time to safely bring back both the 12-year-old and the officer who tried to get him out.
We grabbed the buoy, throw it to the kid, and we got him out.
So they kind of just took him right out of our hands and took him right to the truck and got him all warm and stuff.
And then we immediately turned to Officer Shoemaker, trying to help him get out of the water. And then we pulled him out onto the ice.
The parents couldn't be more pleased.
Proud. We just raised good boys, and they would be willing to do anything for anybody. So no matter, just wanting to help everybody out.
And the Dundee Police Department wants this to be a reminder to be careful on frozen surfaces because with the temperature changing the way it does, so does the stability of the ice. Victor Williams, Local 4.
Thank you. And that 12-year-old is expected to be just fine. No word on where his parents were located during the time of the incident. All right, an unprecedented trial in Michigan. The mother of the Oxford High School shooter facing charges herself for the 4 classmates her son killed.
Our Sean Lay joins us with a look at what happened during day 1 of jury selection. Sean?
Well, the first thing is no cameras here in the courtroom of Judge Cheryl Matthews here at Oakland County Courts. That's her call not to have any cameras in the courtroom. We were able to observe what's happening inside. Jennifer Crumbley, jury selection beginning in her case, charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Painstaking task here to seat this jury. 325 people called to the courts building today in the ice and rain this morning. They got here. 50 brought up to the courtroom, 17 put in the jury box, and they were asked questions if they can be fair and impartial. They were asked questions, what if their child was involved in a school shooting? Is it the parents' responsibility, or can they be held responsible? Many said yes, and many were kept in the jury box and are still on this potential jury. Some were let go for views on guns and also views on police, and also for having prepaid trips so they cannot be here, so the judge was able to let them go. This continues tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. That's when the prosecutor and defense attorneys for Jennifer Crumbley will be able to ask these potential jurors their questions to see if they will still stick in that jury box. And then the judge says she wants a jury by the end of tomorrow. In Oakland County, Sean Lay, Local 4.
And Sean will continue to follow that. Meantime, NBC Nightly News spoke with Vin Johnson, who represents families of several victims. Johnson says they want the shooter's parents held accountable.
Those parents sat in that room with the administrators and didn't tell them about the gun, didn't tell them about all the problems that this kid was having at home.
Do your clients feel this is a form of justice?
They do.
As Jennifer Crumbley's trial begins, there will be cameras in the courtroom for that portion. We will be streaming coverage on Local 4 Plus and clickondetroit.com. We'll also have expert analysis as the testimony occurs. If you don't have Local 4 Plus, good time to download the app wherever you stream your news content. The man charged in the murder of a Detroit synagogue leader is now headed to trial.
Michael Jackson Bolanos faces a felony murder charge in the death of Samantha Wohl. 17 witnesses testified during the two-day preliminary hearing to determine if there was enough evidence to move forward in the case. Today, prosecutors focused on the video evidence in the case, tracking the suspect from his home to the crime scene. Wohl was found dead at her Detroit home back in October. Jackson Bolanos has pleaded not guilty.
The case goes back a year now, but state police are asking for tips in the murders of 3 rappers whose bodies were found in a vacant building. Armani Kelly, Dante Wicker, and Montoya Givens were reported missing last year after failing to show up to a performance at Lounge 31 on Detroit's east side, and they were later found shot to death in an abandoned building in Highland Park. Investigators say the men had been killed, as they put it, in a gang-related incident. They also say, though, there's no connection to the concert venue to these murders. Detectives say they plan on wrapping up the investigation in the next month. But if you have any information in the case, you're urged to call Michigan State Police, or you can call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP.
The Macomb County Sheriff's Office will provide an update on its investigation into a shooting involving a Shelby Township police. It happened January 9th outside an apartment complex on Utica Green. Investigators say officers were called to the home for a domestic violence call. When officers got there, they found a man with a knife, and he lunged at them, and that's when officers shot him. He survived that shooting. The Macomb County Sheriff's Office is determining whether officers followed department policy.
Governor Whitmer is going to deliver her 6th State of the State address. The governor expected to lay out some of her plans for the upcoming year, including investments in schools and housing. And a reminder, Local 4 Plus will be your home for coverage of the State of the State address. It's tomorrow night in front of a joint session of the Michigan House of Representatives and the Michigan Senate. You can watch it live from Lansing on Local 4 Plus starting at 7 p.m.
Michigan State University bans former head football coach Mel Tucker from holding future employment with the university. Friday, MSU permanently banned Tucker from any future employment or affiliation with the college. However, school officials stopped short of forbidding Tucker from setting foot on campus or from attending sporting events. The employment ban is Tucker's penalty for his inappropriate relationship with rape survivor and activist Brenda Tracy. MSU, of course, terminated Tucker in September for violating several terms of his $95 million 10-year contract. Well, Lions fans broke another sound level record at Ford Field this past weekend.
I wonder how far away you could be and still hear it. Team officials say Sunday's game against Tampa set a new Ford Field decibel record. In the seconds following Jared Goff's final kneel down, the noise level registered 134.3 decibels, which beats the previous record, which was 133.6. By the way, that was set a week ago in the game against the Los Angeles Rams. A reminder, our next All-In Playoff Edition special is going to feature Bernie and Hobie Artigue live from Santa Clara, California, the site of Sunday night's game. Hope you'll tune in Saturday night at 8 p.m. on Local 4, and we will stream it on Local 4 Plus.